Welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, episode 41, streamed live on November 24th, 2018. This is the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. We have a packed roundup, including some news about releasing, but not necessarily the release yet. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week is Marius.
Hello.
Hello, Marius. Oh, Dalton is back. Yes, I am. Unfortunate for you, huh?
Good for me, I guess.
Let's jump right in, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, OTA 6. We are very close.
Mm-hmm.
With all the fixes that we have in right now, of course I didn't bring up what I actually had up before. I must have closed it at some point. What we have right now is a good release from my perspective and from the perspective of other developers in the community. Let me just bring this up here. So what the plan is now is on Monday we will promote Devil Image 2 RC that is outside of the normal schedule, but we'll be doing that then. And that time it will be our feature freeze. So we won't be merging in any larger pull requests at that time. With that, we'll bring a call for testing. So I have that drafted. We'll be putting that out on Monday. Anyone who is currently on the RC channel, you will be automatically upgraded there, and you'll get that. And you will be able to help us test. I have created a bunch of projects and boards and things that we can use to more appropriately test this release and accept or reject bugs that were closed. And if any bugs are rejected, try to fix them before the release goes out. So the feature freeze, the release candidate that goes in on Monday might or might not be what's actually released. We're thinking December 7th, 6th, about. With that, well, that'll be going into the stable channel. We have another neat thing. We have release announcements and notifications for all devices on all channels right now. So Florian and Rodney both worked to get that up, where every time our Jenkins server builds an image and throws it into system image, it pushes out a notification to every device on the channel that the image is for. And then every device that gets that automatically starts downloading the update if it is on an appropriate network. And from there, it notifies you of the update after it's finished. But if you are on a network that can't be used to do that, say you're on a mobile network and you don't have that set, it'll notify you immediately. So that's all up. Our first stable release to use that will be OTA 6. So we'll be putting up a new CI job for that very soon. I finally got this. We have two different ways of tracking this release. So right now, people will probably know that we're in a bit of a GitLab GitHub split, and we're slowly migrating over to GitLab as we solve issues with our workflow there. Administrative tasks for this release I'm tracking over on GitLab. So if you find our group on GitLab, gitlab.com/UBports, epics over in the left will take you to the list. We have an OTA 6 release epic, and in there are tasks from all of our different projects and teams to get this release out. So that includes things like the call for testing blog post that I've drafted, contacting any press contacts that we may have, getting a banner and everything for the actual release post when it comes out, and getting that all published. If anyone wants to help with any of that, you can go straight to GitLab and work there. Otherwise, if you just want to track the progress of the release, that'll be the place to do it. And here I
That's
found
epic.
what I was looking for. Oh, sorry.
That's epic. No, go ahead.
Oh, man. I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad you're back too.
So some of the things fixed this release include a lot of fixes in the browser. So Morph Browser has been getting a lot of love here. Things including restoring the previous session at startup, a dialog to warn about unsigned or self-signed certificates, and we updated the user agent a bit so that you can actually get a reCAPTCHA when you need to. So that'll all work now. We also have a fix so that all tabs don't get unloaded all the time, except for the current one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all in there, and that is what you can look forward to. There's also a lot of other things. I have the full changelog in. This issue is called OTA 6 Transparent Analysis, and that is, of course, on that Epic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really loving the GitLab project management features here, guys. This is really good stuff. This is a really good idea. If everyone could stop making epic puns in the supergroup, that would be nice. And now everyone's going to start. Florian has also worked on a lot of fixes for the OnePlus One, including the wireless MAC address and a Bluetooth address, as well as some volume changes during phone calls and the echo problem. So people with a OnePlus One, you be watching out for this update because it's going to be awesome for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. So that's OTA 6. If there are any questions about that, I'm watching the live chat, so just throw them in there, and I will bring them up as they come in. So again, that is coming. Oh boy, that's my voice. We're looking at that around the 6th or 7th of December, with the feature freeze happening on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Moving over to Edge channel then.
Yeah, let's talk about something else that's happening in releases. So, this hasn't come up. What we've been bringing it up in our QA channel and some other smaller places around, but Marius has brought up a new release channel.
Woo! So this release channel is all about bleeding edge, and it's a place where developers should pour in the most unstable and the newest, freshest things. And this is a place where we will use to develop our newer version of libhybris, a newer version of Mir, a newer version of Unity 8. Right now, it contains a newer version of libhybris, and all the Halium fixes is on there. And we are currently testing them on our current devices and also testing them on Halium devices. This is our step to getting more Halium E. And our step to be able to support Halium devices in our main development track and our main channels. This is also set up for we later on can set up devices in our main channel and main tracks on the system image with more devices and Halium devices. So this move is mostly for Halium, but it also comes with the benefit of building the ground for a newer version of Unity 8, a newer version of Mir, which comes the next release after the next one. So next release.
And
hopefully.
Long-term watchers and listeners will know that we've talked about the Edge channel before. Before it was just a root file system that was made on our CI server that Halium porters and others could install. But now it's a channel that's being built for all of our devices that can be installed just like our stable RC
Devil.
or Devil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nightly image, and we do not, even more so than Devil, recommend this for daily use. This is a place for initial testing of large changes before they actually go into the image, such as what we're looking to do with either the next update or 2 updates from now, the near-term future of updating libhybris for Halium and to make other projects possible.
To say it like this, it's kind of like Devil, but with some
Dragons.
dragons and mines and guns placed all around it. It might explode at any time, and it might be non-functional at any time. This is a developer place and a QA place for both QA people and developer people to test and to play around with new things that are not done. And we want to play around with it there before we bring it into the normal processes, because this is detached from any of the other processes, which means that it doesn't get promoted in any way. We have to manually pick the changes over if we want to get them into our main track, which is Devil, RC, and Stable, which is the track. Those get automatically, or not automatically, but semi-automatically pushed each to each release or each channel. But this is completely separate, and it's a place where dragons fly wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question. Are all Edge images built on Holium for existing devices? Not quite. So for the devices that we have, it's that Edge, Ubuntu, Userland, and the Android binaries that are packaged in are all the ports that we already have. So there's nothing different there. Just looking for other questions in here. We can cover those in a little bit. Yes, and camera. The camera.
Slightly interject before you go to the next topic with the Edge channel. This Edge channel is hidden from the UBports installer. This is a thing that we've done just to make sure that it doesn't accidentally get installed. But you can, if you are explorers and you want to explore the dangerous side, you can use the system image CLI tool to switch over to it.
Yes, and that's the only way to switch over it for now. It is not going to be displayed in the channel switcher in the settings, and it also is not displayed in the installer. If someone would like to make a shortcut or something, some way to hide it in the installer, so that only came up when you push some buttons or something, maybe typed Edge, that might be an idea, but otherwise it won't be displayed by default. Ubuntu Device Flash will also work.
Yeah, Ubuntu Device Flash, and also the CLI tool for UBports installer. But the reason why we are hiding this is because we don't want people to accidentally install this, because that can lead to danger. Like,
yeah, that would just be a bad experience overall.
Yeah.
The question here was about the camera for OnePlus One and Nexus 5. That still has trouble. So I commented on the bug that we have in for the Nexus 5 image camera freezing, where the viewfinder will freeze. After the viewfinder is frozen, which is after you take the first picture, you can still take more pictures, but the viewfinder won't update. And that is a big problem. But with the amount of time that we've put into it and how long has passed since the last release, we are comfortable with releasing without that fix in. And of course, we're still going to be looking at it, but changes with the new libhybris, as well as some other things that we are looking at, such as switching to Sailfish's GST Droid or GStreamer plugin, which is a little bit more standard than what we're doing right now, are better long-term plans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is set on hold just because we are not only planning, but we are expecting major changes to become in that area in the future. And for us to pour in a lot of effort right now, when this will probably change within like 3 months or so, we really don't want to do dual work or twice as much as work, and then we have to do it again in some months.
Yep. For anyone who does experience that issue, Quick switching away from the camera and back again does fix the viewfinder, as well as sometimes switching to the gallery and back with a right swipe. It is an unfortunate issue, and we know, and we would love if anyone has seen this before, maybe in the Sailfish port or in another Hybris-based port on this device. We would really appreciate the help with that. We are also getting reports of something similar happening on the OnePlus One and the Nexus 4, though those aren't hard confirmed, and they don't have a clear replication point all the time. We would really appreciate that.
This is also why we also want to improve this area. Exactly as Dalton said there, we have multiple devices that has camera issues, and since the camera is so, like, every device is so special in one way, and with small parameters, just the camera just craps out if something is not right, and that's why we want to go with, at least try the Sailfish method, because they are providing a mini version of the camera service that runs on the Android side, instead of having the full camera service, which ultimately means less issues to go wrong because it's smaller, hopefully.
Yeah. Everyone who's asking right now about more ports, that is the point of getting closer to Halium in this regard, because there are Halium ports started, and we'd love to help the people who are porting actually complete those ports. And that is some of our responsibility here, trying to get the newer things that Hybris 7 and Halium 7 need in order to actually work with Ubuntu Touch. That's some of the stuff that we're bringing in with the Edge channel, and should make all of those ports that everyone is asking about with the Lumia, not the Lumia, the Galaxies and other things, lots of things more possible for community members. As for device support from ourselves, while that is a fun way to spend our time, and that's slightly joking, it is a lot of time to be spending, and that's time that's probably better spent improving the experience for the users we already have.
Yeah, and we also need to, right now, we definitely need to provide a solid base to port on. We still have many dangling area which does not really give a good porting experience, and doesn't really is solid enough for us to allow, not allow, but for us to spend time, because then we will just making hot fixes and making hacks to make everything works as we currently have it. It's better for us to spend our time on making the porting tools around it and everything really solid, and getting the processes in, and getting the correct headers in, and all these things that really fit together. And this is why we are doing now with newer version of Hybris, and Hybris is definitely a first step, since it's kind of it's the dirt on yeah, it's the dirt under the concrete. It supports the concrete, but it can fall down any minute, and it still needs to be solid. Yeah.
The only thing I miss when I'm not here is your anecdotes.
Yes.
They never translate well.
We definitely need, because it's so hard to explain it, and then I try to find another way and explain it, and I make it even harder to understand.
Yes, the Edge channel is solid dirt. Good
right
job,
now
live
it's
chat.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Oh, I should mention, we have the Q&A or the QA process notes on our docs site in the processes section, I believe. And it has a spreadsheet that you can go through and just check off things that work or do not work. This would be a really good time to do that with the Edge channel. If you have a spare device and a spare SIM, to go through that and tell us what's working and what's not, that would be super helpful. Anyone who's out there looking to just spend a few minutes on this. Or, alternatively, you could do that with OTA 6. Either one works, and it's a great contribution to us, and it helps us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Watching chat. I don't see anything there or there. All right. I think it's a good time to take a break and thank all of our wonderful sponsors. So thank you everyone who's supporting us using PayPal, Patreon, or LibraPay. And especially to our patrons Darko Balka, Morgan McMillan, and Thorolf Sean. You guys are helping make this all possible, and it's with even small amounts really help. You can find us on patreon.com/UBports or librapay.com/UBports, or you can find other ways to donate at ubports.com/donate. I'd also like to thank our corporate sponsors, who without you, we would have much worse infrastructure and much less exciting infrastructure. So to DigitalOcean, Scaleway, Packet.net, Smooze, and Private Internet Access, thank you all. That was a lot of people I just name dropped. You can find links to all of their sites on ubports.com/sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Let's jump right to the questions. So I got a question here from Dom MYBPKM. Your username is wonderful.
That's not the letters.
No, I probably butchered that. But Dalton will try afterwards because he has more questions. Were there any recent attempts of working with partnerships?
So, specifically, he's asking about with BQ.
Yeah.
Now, the
I
last
wanted to
thing
make
that
it
I
more broad.
noticed was with BQ specifically, I don't believe there's anything new since the last time Florian talked about it here on this very Q&A. But he has been in contact with them. They are still watching the project and the community. So that's still a thing. His next question was, is the ultimate goal to come back with a commercial phone with a major brand?
Well, not necessarily. So the way that we are set to go is more the way of we develop the OS and whoever wants to use it can use it. We don't want to go the way of us creating the phones for the different brands. Like for example, Canonical did. We want to go the route of more being an OS that manufacturers can then provide. We don't want necessarily, or not at all, really, to get the foundation to get involved with commercializing to devices. We want to the foundation should be neutral. It should be completely neutral from any hardware influences, and that way we can provide an experience that's not money central in one way, because if we have an OS which is completely tailored to the commercial phone, that OS will most likely be very money centric, like for example Google with Google search, and the experience, even that's not what we want to create. We want to create a completely neutral OS, and we want corporate partners to use us, not we use them, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that's sort of how that.
Use our OS. Use our OS.
Yeah, not quite the language, but yes.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal, to answer the question of the UBports Foundation, is to increase the use of a free and open source mobile operating system that respects its users. However we do that is, as far as that's concerned, an implementation detail. So,
yeah. But I guess all in all, the answer to that is no. The ultimate goal is not to come back to that release model. But of course, we would like commercial phones to be, but that's not our. We don't want to set up to make that our goal. Is what I'm trying to say. That's something that the commercial brand manufacturers have to initiate themselves to be able. We don't like. Of course, someone can come and ask us to make a phone, but we will have no influences, or they will not have any influence in tailoring the OS to be money centric. I think that's the core of it. To
Or the core of the
provide
question, at least. Right.
Yeah.
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 I hope that answers the question. It is a little bit of a interesting one to answer. Not because we're holding secrets against you or anything, but the strategy of it, and it's even hard to explain why this is hard.
Yeah.
But I hope that that was an answer that you are okay with. If you have any further questions, just ask, because if that wasn't clear, we want to make it clear for you.
But also, one thing I want to note is that right now, I don't think we are in any position to any commercial partner to even consider us, because we are lagging so much behind on the Android part.
Right.
And if we want to provide newer version of the devices and keep up with those, we need to get our Holium games together, which we are currently doing with Edge. So we are getting there. We just had a long get up to date with Senior thing.
Yeah.
And now
As well as looking into your Heidel experiments more, which is the treble hardware abstraction layer, because everything is solved with another level of abstraction.
Yes, you take the abstraction, and then you extract the abstraction. That's definitely making an ABI stable OS. But if you have no idea what I mean, read up. Android Treble is pretty awesome. It pretty much makes us more desktop-like, to say it easier, where you can put one image and put it on any device that supports the Rebel, which is awesome, by the way. In theory,
this is still Android we're talking about, but
it's still ARM and it's still Android. But in theory, it's awesome. And the demos I already have is awesome. You can check them out on GitLab if you want them.
The phone vibrates.
Yes. Every phone that I put that on vibrates. Okay. Carrying on. Next question is
Wendigo had a question. Can you mention this thread about game engines with Ubuntu Touch support? And then he has a link here to a forum thread that he made about game engines with Ubuntu Touch support. I'm not able to put it into the chat now. I'm going to put these... it's not... This is stressing me out, man. So, he does have a collection of game engines here. Most of them are HTML5 engines. There, now it's in chat. He says, it seems like it's pretty hard to get any other engines on board since we are an ARM platform. And that is true. So with non-HTML5 game engines, it is a bit of a difficulty, especially since we only have embedded GL or EGL rather than the full OpenGL layer. So this is just his public announcement using us that he has this thread in the forum. If you have any game engines that you have successfully used on Ubuntu Touch, or if you have a game engine that you think would work, let us know. We also have...
I just wanted to add, this will also open up later on once we have a newer version of Mir, which has Android, has Wayland support, which means that any Wayland game engine that's also compiled to ARM should work.
Should work better, at least. It should be easier. And then his next question was about including SDL or Love 2D into the game, into the system image.
We do use SDL for ARM. No, man, it's late. We use SDL for Andbox. So once Andbox is getting to a state, we probably will include SDL too.
Right. The concern right now with adding more things to the system image is we are running out of space very quickly.
Yes.
We allocate 2 gigabytes on every device, or less on some devices since they have partitions rather than images in data. So, for example, on the Fairphone, we have about 150 megabytes of space in the system image, and you're not able to install much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the 10%. Well, actually, because of the 10% limit reserved for root, you're not able to install anything without some modifications. So we still have that problem to get around, and what we're doing is, as we continue to obsolete things such as Oxide, we are planning to remove them. But for now, at least, if we were to remove Oxide today, which, let's be honest, is our dream, it would break a lot of web apps which directly embedded Oxide rather than using Ubuntu.web, the abstraction, because everyone has abstraction.
Mm-hmm.
Question from the supergroup. Is an option planned to introduce Tor and provide some interaction with the Morph browser? That's interesting. I wonder, does Network Manager currently have support for Tor?
I don't know.
If it did, it would be helpful. Someone could actually make an interface for that just interfaces directly to Network Manager to go into system settings, which would allow your entire phone to go through Tor. Everything that happens, rather than just the browser. Otherwise, if you did want to only integrate it into Morph browser itself, that would be a bit of a harder sell because you'd have to do some weird things with the web engine view as far as I know. So those might be some modifications we wouldn't want to make in the browser, since then no one else would be able to take advantage of them. So the first thing I would investigate if you're looking to implement Tor would be whether or not Network Manager itself has support, or if there's any other ways to install support for it. And as
Actually,
always,
I think you can just install Tor from the
the
archive
archive.
and run it. I think that should work.
Yeah. Otherwise, a way that you would want to start would be to have a command line script or something that would install it, which you could then automate using the GUI.
Mm-hmm.
But then we do get into the problem of not wanting to install too much into the system image, so it's kind of a vicious cycle at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting question, though, and I hope to see that go a little bit further if you are willing to take it anywhere. Running over to live chat. Nope. Okay. Whew. Next. From Mattv1. Now that we're on solid ground again, thanks to the 1604 move, what are your thoughts on the longer-term development and design changes you would like to see happen? If I remember correctly, there are still some changes available that were developed by Canonical that never landed. Are those or any other design changes on the cards to be worked into Ubuntu Touch?
Yes, this is exactly pretty much what we talked about again with bringing up Edge Channel again. But this is a place where we will eventually bring these changes into and refine them and prettify them. But most of those changes require a new version of Mirror and Unity 8. And that's why.
The newer Unity 8 in itself is going to be a change, because in the newer Unity 8, there's no more scope system. The dash is gone. And now instead there's an app switcher which swipes out from the left, which if you used Unity 8 on the desktop at any point, still not usable, by the way. A lot of people are contributing to it, but it is still not usable yet on the desktop. You would see that there's that swipe out or slide out app launcher rather than the dash interface that we see on the phones. Now, that does have a couple of drawbacks. Of course, the loss of scopes, which we have been talking about for a while. But it also gives us a bit of a blank slate because it does remove a lot of code from Unity 8 that wasn't well maintained before. And so it should be, at the very least, faster. And we should have a way that we can integrate more things into it as they're designed. Now, in the design landscape, we do have a bit of news there. Joan has joined as our steering committee head of design, and he is just killing it. And that's in the good way. The American wait, that's even worse. I'm gonna stop there. He's been putting posts in the forum about overarching design changes and dreaming about the design in Ubuntu Touch to allow people to make mockups or suggest changes that won't necessarily be implemented, but can be used as basis to go off of as we continue to make a better design process and get to a point where we are able to make these changes ourselves. So if you are at all design inclined, I would recommend that you go check that out in the design section of our forum. There's a lot going on over there. Yes, indeed. John, keep killing it. The good way. Ooh. Next. He had another question. With the Librem 5, what are your expectations when changing out Hybris to whatever it is we'll be needing instead to enable that hardware?
So with this area, it really depends on how it's implemented by them, which I expect is directly in the kernel. But the expectation is really hard to say because right now there is nothing made for handling that, and most of the things that will be added will not be added yet since it's really hardware specific. But I do expect to be a cleaner. I don't necessarily think it will be faster at first because getting everything up and getting 3D acceleration, for example, on the display is something that I don't expect will come first. But I think upgrade and stuff like that, it won't be as fragile as we right now. Right now we have a lot of moving parts, and the Android container and all that is really fragile. Not fragile, but it's really finicky to get working the correct way. But having everything in the kernel, you basically can throw whatever at it, and as long as it's ABI stable, it works fine. And this is kind of the same what we are hoping for with the Librem 5 also. And other devices that might come in the future to have a stable ABI in the kernel, which basically you can throw whatever at it and it should work.
Yeah, things like just standard Mesa and those kinds of stable standard things that everyone knows how to use. That'll be really nice. Other things that we know, so in theory, the solution to this is just taking a package out of the system called LexC Android config. And after doing that, it should all boot as if it was on a desktop or just a standard PC. In practice, it probably won't be that easy, but we do need to bring up that kind of rootfs anyway. So in the coming weeks, especially now that we're switching more into testing mode rather than development mode on the main track, and for things like Pine64 sent development kits to some of our community members, as we've mentioned in the last episode, we do need that infrastructure in place to build those and people debugging those kinds of things. So that is coming. And our expectations are there will be problems, as there are with anything. And we just need to fix them as they come up. The next question is kind of in the same vein. I'll read it so you can take it. From
Yep.
Preston, have you considered expanding the Ubuntu Touch ports to newer 64-bit phones? If so, what are the complications you will have to sort out before you do?
So we already have experience with 64-bit, and we still have some areas to fix there. We had some seg fault, which made us give up at that point and focus on other stuff because it was mostly is
Oh man,
tests.
that was the Nexus 5.
Nexus
I want to
5.
forget so bad. No, 5X, sorry.
But we are still in this area and we still experience with it. But that also comes back to the edge channel. We want to get the edge channel perfect, and once that's perfect, we can start bringing in ARM64, building ARM64 daily. We already have a daily build of ARM64. It's failing right now because of dependency issues with the new browser. Because there's some missing headers in upstream Ubuntu, and we have to bring them in and build them from ARM64, which is a little bit of a pain, but we will do that once we have a more stable edge channel. I really hope to get this done ASSP as fast as possible.
We'll go with that.
English is hard to spell things, especially in words. But anyway, we are getting there. We have experience with it, and it is working. Just some seg faults with LSD. It's good.
Thanks, community. Sometimes things as small as spelling will help us out a lot.
But this is what I wanted to show you guys.
Oh, you got it up. Okay.
Yeah, this is a new dash thing.
That's the app switcher.
Yeah, stuff is not working right now as good. No, none of the apps are displaying anything because this is a newer version of Mirror. But no, actually, look at that. Some apps.
The dialer worked. That is the
worked.
first step. But yeah, that's Edge channel. No, that's not Edge channel. That's
it's Edge with an extension. It's the
you need to install an extension.
Senior underscore Edge underscore or the weird underscore. I mean, Senior underscore Edge underscore Mirror. And
honestly, when I type that, it's underscore dash underscore. When I type it, I will usually do this. I don't know. It just looks like that on the command line. I don't understand.
It's a weird Jenkins bug back in the days, and it just stays there. Back in the days.
Yes. Andreas said, that's to show my buffer dice roll. It's about a 1 in 10 chance if your app will actually be displayed or not.
It's even less than that, especially on slower devices, it seems like. On faster devices, so I don't know.
So we're racing.
But everything things work. I can like call people with it. Pretty cool. I announced my mom's phone number. Try to not. But
yeah, that's fine.
But it's working at least.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Tabletop RPG dice. Maybe a D20? Probably worse than that even. Except it crit fails more than expected.
Yeah. On faster devices, you have a bigger chance of actually calling your mom.
As to the question, was the Nexus 5X on the ARM64 rootfs? It was at one point. Throughout the journey of porting it, I did have it on ARM64, ARMHF, and it switched back and forth. But the same issues happened in either case, so it was kind of a toss-up either way. Other things, we do need to get the 64-bit rootfs up for other things, such as the Pine devices that we were talking about before. That's actually what I have in my hand, is just a Sopine module here. I still cannot believe that this is a computer. This still blows my mind.
That's not a computer.
Well, it's most of it.
Oh yeah, like mostly. You're just missing
the rest. Yep.
The rest.
Right. So I'm gonna, if you have any questions for us, either throw them in the supergroup or in YouTube live chat at this point. Just
Apparatus.
because we're just wrapping up a little bit here.
Hmm. We are not. Hopefully, next time we will be full booked again. We have
Yeah.
been having some lacking Q&As.
Well, it is the holiday season, so our schedule might be up in the air for the next few weeks. If you have any doubts on when we will be up again, you'll want to look in the news section on our forum at forums.ubports.com, or keep on watching the YouTube channel because I do schedule these a few days in advance.
Hmm. Maybe we can have some guests. If not,
Yeah, if anyone wants to come on talk to us for a while, that would be awesome. We always love talking to more people in the community.
hmm.
Whew. Just looking through here. Don't allow dead air. Will we have a Q&A on Christmas evening? That's a good question.
Ooh.
That would be Monday the 24th. So it wouldn't be on the normal schedule either way, but still probably not.
Yeah, Christmas Eve. I remember
We might be
last time.
developers, but we do still have social lives and a family.
Well, socialize is debatable, but family, sure.
Wow.
I'm talking about
Ow.
myself.
That hurt.
Well, yeah, we are social with ourselves, I guess.
You should probably stop while you're ahead.
That came out completely wrong. But what's the state of Unbox? Unbox, it's well, it since last time it has going slowly. Most of our effort has been poured into the Edge channel. As we talk, I wonder how many times I said Edge this Q&A.
If anyone wants to go through and count that, I will appreciate it.
Give you no satisfaction at all because that's no value of anyone's time. But back to so the thing with Unbox is basically we also want to integrate it better, and many of the things needs to like stabilize also, like hardware features. We don't want to pour a lot of effort into making camera working, for example, and then in a month's time we are changing out the complete camera infrastructure and we have to redo all that. So most of the things that we'll be getting into Unbox is more stabilization, faster things. We also need to fix so it's able to run without debug mode, which would improve performance a lot. But now it segfolds if you compile it without debug symbols, which is incredible. Which is terrible for me because I can't debug it because it doesn't happen when you have debug symbol. It's like
It'll be fine.
No, it's not fine, but sure.
So if anyone is looking at installing Anbox, giving it a test, there is the thread on our forum, Anbox pre-release testing. It is still very pre-release, but people have screenshots of things like WhatsApp, things like that, running. Maybe not running well, but they do run. So it's in early days, but it is still awesome.
Yep.
Arthur Dent says, take a break, guys. Yeah, maybe. Either way, you will be seeing the schedule as we bring it up over the next few weeks. Things are going to be bumpy, so just keep a watch. Anyone who's on the RSS feed, you will, as always, get the latest episode when it comes out. So if you don't get an episode, we haven't released it. This has to be the nerdiest episode ever, someone says. Yeah, that's right. But yeah. I think it's time to cap it there. So, thank you everyone so much for watching. This has been the Ubuntu Touch Q&A. If you want more of us, you can find us on tons of social websites, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+, rest in peace, Mastodon, Diaspora, and you can also chat with us on Matrix or Telegram.
Mm-hmm.
This The Ubuntu Touch Q&A will be back when it is back. We're not sure when it'll be yet, but as always, you can find us on our forum and you can ask questions there. Remember, we do not take questions about specific bugs or issues on the GitHub Live Tracker. The best place to look for those updates is on the issue itself, which we always update whenever there are updates.
And we also want to take questions regarding specific ports, because we are getting so much of when this device, and when this device will be added. We simply can't port all the devices, so we won't answer questions on those anymore. But questions regarding ports that we personally do, sure.
And if you have any questions about the questions, you can always PM me. That's always the easiest way. Whew. So we will see you all in the next one. Be sure to catch up wherever you would like. We post updates everywhere. So we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Leave a like, subscribe, smash the like button.